Hey up, it's Steve from the old Yorkshire Geek, and we've got a UFO news update. I haven't done one of these for a while. Just one news story. It's a UFO news bite, you could say. Exclusive, according to the Daily Mail, but I've also seen it on the Daily Star and several other places. So it's a funny exclusive. Pentagon ordered to reinvestigate 1945 crash of mysterious avocado-shaped UFO dubbed the Roswell before Roswell, as expert reveals eyewitness accounts of the encounter. Last week, President Biden signed a new military spending bill amended to incorporate a UFO case from 1945. The signing involved a crash in New Mexico, about 100 miles from Roswell. Jacques Vallée, a former contractor for the government's UFO office, wrote a book about the case and described it to dailymail.com. Vallée was the inspiration for Francois Truffaut's character in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the Steven Spielberg film. Right, the government's UFO office... Oh, I forgot to put the thing on, hadn't I? God, I'm stupid. I'm wittering away. There we go. Good job I hadn't got halfway through the blooming article, isn't it? I'm an article, a dozy one. Right. The government's UFO office has been ordered to reinvestigate an alleged 1945 crash of a strange object in New Mexico. My beard's rubbing against me thingy. My microphone. Dubbed the Roswell before Roswell. A new military spending bill signed into law by President Biden last week was specifically amended to incorporate the intriguing case into a historic review of UFO incidents to be conducted by the Department of Defense. Jacques Vallée, a former contractor for the government's UFO office and the co-author of a book on the 1945 case, gave an exclusive interview to dailymail.com about it. Vallée, a renowned scientist and UFO investigator, was the inspiration for the French scientist character in Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, played by Francois Truffaut. In his interview, he described the alleged August 1945 crash of an avocado-shaped craft on the edge of the atomic bomb testing site near San Antonio, New Mexico, about 100 miles from the infamous Roswell crash 2 years later. And there's Jacques Vallée. The National Defence Authorization Act, just making sure you can see it, which passed Congress this month, includes a section requiring the Department of Defence's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, to review and prepare a report on all previous government investigations of UFOs dating back to 1945. The bill's text previously only went back to 1947, but a late amendment changed it to 45. I was not involved in the drafting of the legislation, but several of my DC friends were, and they got the date of the investigation pushed back to 1945, Vallée told dailymail.com. Several of the congressmen involved have the book that Paola Harris, I don't know, I think it's Paola, isn't it? Harris, and I wrote about our research at the alleged crash site called Trinity. Vallée and Italian UFO journalist Harris's 2021 book, Trinity, the Best Kept Secret, was re-released this year with new information and is mainly based around testimony of 3 witnesses, a B-52 bomber pilot, and 2 young sons of a rancher on whose land the UFO supposedly crashed. And there's an artist's impression of the crash site with a damaged UFO, avocado-shaped apparently. And some more stuff. Tan material on surface, close-up of tan material, and etc. What's this? Material recovered from the crash is pictured. The 2 researchers interviewed the family of Lieutenant Colonel, that's a lieutenant, it's the Americans are, Lieutenant Colonel William Brothy, who said he revealed in the years after the incident that he was sent out to survey the crash site on August 16th, 1945. The first witness was a bomber pilot who was coming in for landing at Alamogordo, the neighbouring airbase, Vallée told dailymail.com. Just say who's. He was asked by the controllers to look at a communication tower that had lost signal. He told the story to his family. His son gave us the recollection of what his father had described. By the way, there's the book that they wrote. Flying over, he saw the tower was bent as if it had been hit by something very hard, and then he saw in the vegetation some distance away a large egg-shaped object, and there were two little kids that he called little Indians on their horses next to the object. Valley says those two kids were Jose Padilla, 9, and Remy Backer, 7. Padilla, I don't know how you pronounce it, now 86, became a highway patrol officer for 32 years, and Backer, who died in 2013, became a US Marine and later a senior staffer for Washington Governor Dixie Lee Ray. That's a name, isn't it? They kept their story secret for more than 50 years, at last deciding to come forward in 2003 in an interview with a journalist from their hometown. And there's a photo of Joe Padilla. I'm going to say Padilla. I'm probably saying it wrong. And there's Padilla, now 86. Interviews with Valet and Harris decades after the crash saw them describe stumbling across the wreckage of a craft while looking for a lost cow on Padilla's father's ranch by the Rio Grande on August 16, 1945. We heard this sound and the ground shook, Backer said in one interview. We saw smoke coming from maybe a couple of canyons down. We worked our way down the ridge. There was a gouge in the earth as long as a football field and a circular object at the end of it. It was the colour of the old pot my mother was always trying to shine up, a dull metallic colour. He said he could feel the heat from the crash through the soles of your shoes. Backer said he picked up a piece of foil-like metal that sprung back to its original shape and folded. That sounds familiar. Strange-looking creatures were moving around inside, he added. They looked under stress. They moved fast, as if they were able to will themselves from one position to another in an instant. They were shadowy and expressionless, but definitely living beings. There's a picture of Remy Backer, who was 7 at the time. They had big bulgy eyes, 4 foot tall, and they were real thin, needle-thin arms. Their heads looked like Campamocha, a praying mantis. Why did you just say that? They seemed like us children, not dangerous, but we were scared and exhausted. The boys fled home on their horses and told Padilla's father what they had seen. Faustino Padillo, or Padillo, I'm saying it wrong, I know, told them it probably belonged to the army and to ignore it, but they persuaded him to check out the site 2 days later with state policeman Eddie Apodaca. I don't know. I'm hopeless with names, I know. Backer and Padillo said the craft was still there, but the debris was gone. Oh, debris. It said bloody pronunciation nightmare doing this job. The object covered with dirt and the ground appeared to have been raked. Next day, an army sergeant named, whatever that says, Avila, showed up at the ranch. What happened to Smith? Asking Faustino if they could cut out his fence, put in a gate and grade a road to the crash site for a tractor-trailer, Backer said. We have one of our experimental weather balloons that inadvertently fell on your property, Backer remembered the sergeant saying. And there's a map showing the Trinity site, White Sands National Monument. Is that it? It's just a map of the area. Not showing the crash site, is it? Not that I can see. Anyway, the crash was on the edge of the atomic bomb testing site near San Antonio, New Mexico, about 100 miles from the infamous Roswell crash 2 years later. Right. Okie dokie. A couple more bits of debris. In 2015, Valley had a spectroscopy analysis performed on the metal panel. They said they recovered from the wreckage. It points to a mundane man-made origin. The samples are pictured. So there you go. Over the following week, the two boys snuck out to the site and used binoculars to spy on a unit of army officers who stood guard, loaded by 25 by 14 foot, roughly 5-ton avocado-shaped object onto a flatbed truck and covered it with blue tarpaulins, they told Harris. They're not like, they hadn't just seen Flight of the Navigator, had they? That sounds awfully familiar. There were no signs of the creatures they claimed they saw earlier. On the last day, the boys plucked up the courage to sneak up and peek under the tarp while the young bored soldiers were at lunch. Oh, this sounds familiar. I'm sure I've seen this story before. I probably have. But that bit sounds familiar. Jose said, I think they're going to take it tonight. I said, yeah, how about a souvenir, Backer told Harris. Jose pulls part of the tarp off, exposing the gash on the side of the craft, while I hold the tarp open. Jose climbs into the gash. I mean, the 9 and 7. Christ, I don't know. Kids were older back then, I suppose. Anyway, they described ridges inside every few feet, silvery coloured strands like angel hair decorations, and a 2.5 foot or 2.5 foot. So mixing your imperial and your decimal. 2.5 foot metal panel attached to the rear wall with pins. No seats or anything, Backer said. It must have been cleaned out. Or maybe there weren't any. Couldn't see any instruments like gauges, clocks, steering wheel, brake pedals, nothing like that. The plucky kids grabbed a crowbar from the tractor, used it to rip the large panel off the wall and scurried off. They said they hid the metal under the floorboards of a nearby building and kept quiet about the case, fearing retribution by the army against their families, especially after officers came to search Faustino's house. And there's Jacques Vallée talking to Padilla. And there's Paola Harris. Never mind, I'll not say anything. I don't like Paola Harris, I'm sorry. I'm sure she's a lovely person, but there's something about her. When I've seen her in interviews and stuff like that, there's something off-putting about her. But never mind. Backer and Padilla eventually moved away and lost contact until 2002 when Backer reconnected with his old friend via a genealogy search. It was then they decided to tell their story. In 2015, Vallée had a spectroscopy analysis performed on the metal panel. They said they'd recover from the wreckage. It points to a mundane man-made origin. The metal is aluminium, primarily alloyed to copper and silicon, the report by Frontier Analysis said, a mix often used for engine crankcases, gas and oil tanks, engine oil pans, typewriter frames and engine parts. The isotopic ratios for the metals in the panel are within the range found on Earth. The foil-like metal that Backer claimed he picked up had been lost after he allegedly used it to fix a leaking pipe on the ranch as a boy. Yeah, because you just would do, wouldn't you? That pipe's leaking. I'll use this exotic alien metal. Oh, dear. While you've got to use whatever's to hand, I suppose, haven't you? While other researchers have abandoned the case due to the lack of results and paper trail, Vallée said it did not diminish the mystery for him. We have yet to ask what an ordinary human fragment of some low-tech aluminium gadget was doing aboard a fantastic craft dropping from the sky in the middle of a storm. Shattering the Marconi Tower of the White Sands missile range as its crew of diminutive insectoids skidded weirdly through the cabin, he wrote in his book. You can't nail an aluminium bracket to the interior wall of a weather balloon, no matter how sophisticated. Every 9-year-old kid in New Mexico knows that. Vallée, who worked as a contractor for a previous incarnation of the government's UFO office, the Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Application Programme, told DailyMail.com he is hopeful that a review of the Trinity alleged crash by the new UFO office will turn up further evidence. It will reopen the research on a more historically accurate and significant timescale, he said, in his French accent. And the data scientist believes he knows where Arrow investigators should go looking, the Department of Energy. Remy Backer assisted Dixie Lee Ray in winning the election as governor of Washington in 1976. She had been chair of the Atomic Energy Commission 1973 to 75, he said. She showed Remy when he was helping her in the campaign a record of the recovery of the craft. It was secret. She did not leave it with him, but she indicated that there was a record in the files of the Atomic Energy Commission. Excuse me. Intriguingly, the new defence budget legislation signed into law last week also includes a whistleblower programme for reporting deep black UFO programmes to Congress. An amendment to the 2023 National Defence Authorisation Act, NDA, gives protections to any whistleblowers coming forward to Congress in classified briefings. In classified briefings to disclose any previously hidden programs on unidentified anomalous phenomena involving material retrieval, material analysis, and even reverse engineering and developmental or operational testing. Former UFO Office Director Lou Elizondo told DailyMail.com, "This language is truly revolutionary in terms of ensuring the American people can finally get to the bottom of a decades-old mystery." Former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defence for Intelligence Christopher Mellon added that the new laws mean ARROW is no longer a toothless organisation and now has personnel, authority, resources and strong support from Congress. Another NDAA amendment requires the UFO Office to compile a written report detailing the historical record of the United States government relating to unidentified anomalous phenomena going back to January 1st, 1945. The review will include successful or unsuccessful efforts to identify and track unidentified anomalous phenomena and any efforts to obfuscate, manipulate public opinion, hide or otherwise provide incorrect, unclassified or classified information. And that's it. And lots of comments. We'll not go through them. Yeah. It's interesting, I suppose. Like I say, if Jacques Vallée is interested in it, there's got to be something to it. Paul Harris can either... Yeah, yeah. But if Jacques Vallée is interested, then it makes me interested. But it's a funny one, isn't it? As I said, there were 9 and 7, weren't there, at the time, back in 1945. Can I remember stuff from when I was 9-year-old? Not really. Not even if it was, finding a UFO, an alien spaceship. But did they find an alien spaceship? I doubt it, to be honest. I mean, they said they saw creatures running about, but I don't know. The tests said it were a mundane. I suppose tests can be fake, can't there? Or false answers given, false results given. But I don't know. It's a mystery. As Jacques Vallée said, it's a mystery. In his French accent, it's a mystery. The character that were based on him in Close Encounters was Mr. Lacombe. Great film. Right, we'll leave it there. So I just thought I'd cover that today. I just thought it was interesting, a UFO story. I haven't had one for a while. Not a good one, anyway. Been lots of videos on YouTube and TikTok and all these places of UFOs, but they're all crap. They're all crap. Even on sites, YouTube channels like Secure Team and Third Phase of Moon, they're showing UFO videos and I'm watching them thinking, it's crap. Maybe I'm just a jaded old duffer. Right, we'll leave it there. Nothing will come of this, by the way. They won't. They'll do a cursory investigation, and then nothing will come of it, because nothing ever comes of UFO investigations on an official governmental level. It'll get brushed under the carpet like they always do. Right. So anyway, thanks for watching. Wherever you are in the universe, if you're on a UFO, just drop down by my house and I'll take some pictures, and we'll become famous. Anyway, look after each other, and until next time, I'll see thee.